So, I want to tell you a story. A long time ago, when I was, 19. So we're coming up on 30 years ago. I worked on a schooner that was harbored in Baltimore. It was about a 158-foot schooner called the Clipper City. It was docked in the inner harbor and kind of the whore of the fleet, right? Like, we just basically took people out on three sails a day out to the Key Bridge, or where the Key Bridge was. Now not so much, but took people out to the Key Bridge, played some reggae music or Jimmy Buffett, and then took them back. So occasionally we would travel to take the boat to various places for charters. And this one time, we went to Havre de Grace, Maryland, the duck decoy capital of the world. This is exciting for a 19-year-old, as you might imagine. And so, we kind of made our own fun. We took, it was actually a retirement community that we took out on the boat. So we spent the day bringing elderly folk, wheeling them on the boat in wheelchairs, helping them with walkers. And, this is harder than I thought. I can walk just fine, but walking and talking at the same time is, in this snow, wait, let me see if I can pan down here. That amount of snow is harder than I thought. So, old folks on the boat. So, we spent the day sailing these old folks around. They had a great time. We, of course, being pretty young, wanted to go out and do something. So we all went out to the bar and got very drunk. The caller engineer was so drunk he was just underneath the table at the bar and was tying everyone's shoelaces together. It seemed a good idea at the time, I guess. So we leave the bar, we shut it down. We're walking back to the boat and singing sea shanties on the way, just to be really obnoxious at 1 or 2 in the morning. And we get back and the first mate decides, you know what, it's time for a dinghy run. Now, a dinghy run means grab a bunch of beer and booze, hop into the dinghy. Again, it's a 158-foot boat. The dinghy was just a little power boat we kept, a little motorboat we kept on the side, with a tender that more often than not we used to push the schooner around like a tiny tugboat. So, piling the dinghy, I'm standing there with a quarter bottle left of Absolute Citron, which is what I was drinking at the time, don't ask. And at the last minute, a nice young lady came to the railing of the boat and looked down at me. Said, I don't think you should go. I think you ought to stay here with me. I looked at the other 3 gentlemen around me, like, guys, I'll see you later. So climbed back out of the boat and spent the evening on the boat instead until around, maybe it would have been 3 in the morning. It was about 45 minutes later, maybe an hour. So yeah, probably 3 in the morning. We heard a helicopter with a spotlight shining down on the water over by a nearby bridge. And given that this was the duck decoy capital of the world, we knew it had to be us. It's a sleepy town in the middle of nowhere, Maryland. Had to be us. Had to be our fault. A few minutes later, we see, pitching to this side because I'm tired. We see 2 of the guys, 2 of the 3, come back in the dinghy. They say nothing to us, dock the dinghy, get on board the boat, immediately run off the boat, off into the night somewhere. No idea. Didn't say a word. We just noticed, oops, walking between here. We just noticed they were down a man. Did not tell us where he was. So our captain comes back on a stolen bike. We explain what happened to him. And he's started off telling us a story that he had seen some guy on the railroad tracks that he assumed was just some homeless dude or a drunk that had gotten hit by a train. Then when we explained that the other guys had left and not come back a man short, he paused and said, man, he was wearing a green jacket too. And at the time, we all had the same green coats as the crew. And so he's screaming expletives into the night as he rides off on a stolen bike to go back to the scene of where he thought the homeless man had been hit by a train. And the story is so much weirder as to what really happened up there. So turns out those 3 guys took the dinghy to a railroad bridge over the water, tied it up, and then climbed to the top of the railroad bridge. From the water level up one of the struts, even with the tracks, the railroad bridge. Again, we were sailors. We were used to climbing shit. When they got even with the tracks, they smashed some little office or some little control station that was on the bridge. I guess they smashed the glass. They basically messed up that little control office. And then decided they weren't quite high enough and climbed to the top arc of the railroad bridge so they could see out completely. So it tracks here, climbed up the side onto the arc of the bridge. Apparently beautiful up there, great view. And a train starts coming. An Amtrak. This is very funny to them. Everything's rumbling. We're young, indestructible. One of the guys decides he's gonna piss on the Amtrak train as it goes underneath him. So he's peeing on the train beneath him, drunk. Him, not the train. And loses his balance. he falls toward the train from the top of the bridge. As he's falling, like you do, reaches out to grab for something, grabs the electrical line that's powering the train with his hand. Electricity arcs through his arm, down to his chest, behind his heart, hits his spine, goes down his leg, and then blows out his knee and arcs back into the bridge. Then he falls the rest of the way and lands on top of the train. Starts to slide off the side, and then digs his fingers into an air conditioner vent. His fingers were torn up, so he just jammed them into the air conditioner vent with both hands and hung on, completely broken. He said when we talked to him later, obviously he did live, that he was very tired in that moment, and that he said I heard a voice that just kind of said, it'd be easier to just rest. It'd be easy to just sleep. I'm very tired now. Why don't you just rest? And he almost did. But then something snapped him out of that. And he did the no, absolutely not, no, don't go gently into that good light. Good light. Don't go gently into the night or stay away from the light. You get what I mean? So he hangs on. And the train slows. It takes him 1.5 miles down the tracks before the train can actually stop. And of course, they life flight him away to the hospital, and the guy survived. We went to go see him in the hospital. We brought him a little engineer cap. There's Amtrak on the front. Amtrak did sue him, by the way, for trespassing. Probably some kind of preemptive lawsuit. But the postscript to that story is that he was also cheating on his girlfriend at the time. And when I think it was his fiance actually, when she came to get his stuff off the boat, she found letters that he'd written to this other girl and evidence of hooker-uppery, apparently. And she said nothing to him about it the whole time he was in the hospital. And she stayed there with him the whole time until he was better and got out of the hospital. And then they went to a little cafe, apparently, and she gave him all the letters and walked out. That's just one of the really random things that's happened to me or happened to people around me or has been part of my life. And if you like that, I'll probably tell you another one. Thanks.